All right, guys, the Utah Jazz have now won 2 in a row. A very avoidable win tonight, but a win nonetheless. Brice is nice, and what's coming up for the Jazz, and some hard truths that need to be looked at. It's the Hoops Nerd Show. All right, guys, so the Utah Jazz beat the Orlando Magic. Absolutely, it's time to get excited about Brice Sensabaugh, who is turning into one of the most premier young players on this Jazz team. He's still coming off the bench, and I think there's probably a few reasons for that. But tonight, Brice Sensabaugh goes for 27. He was near perfect from three, 5 for 6 from three. He didn't take a single free throw and 3 rebounds. Just an absolutely exciting thing to see Brice Sensabaugh doing things. Now, it's catastrophic for the Utah Jazz tank. This is absolutely, should we call these the sweet and sours? Something like that. And I love sweet and sour chicken, but you know what? You get a little too much sweet and sour and you start to get some of this and a little heartburn and you need some Tums. You're giving me some heartburn, Brice Sensabaugh. It's a little too much. I need some Jazz Tums. But that said, Brice Sensabaugh is absolutely a piece, and it's exciting to see this because last season it was a pretty big question mark for me what he was even going to be. And even to start the season, he could not be in the game for more than like 5 to 10 minutes because the ball was just getting taken away immediately. Well, I think what's happened with Brice Sensabaugh is he has just kind of figured out his role, and now he's expanding on it. He's learning what he can do, what he can't, and it's going extremely well. And what we're seeing is that he is absolutely shooting the threads off the ball. It's really nice to see. Now, the Orlando Magic are missing some of their best players. They didn't even play Anthony Black tonight. I was kind of excited to see if Anthony Black could get some minutes, and he was out. They did not have their 3 best players in Suggs, Banchero, and they have both Wagner guys out, but Franz Wagner was out. So they didn't have their best guys. And, I don't have a lot to say about the Orlando Magic, but you know what? Things certainly get a little bit tougher when you don't have someone taking the heat off of you, right? So, everyone's talking about freaking Tristan da Silva. I've heard a lot of people talk about him. Well, guess what? When the defense is focused on you and you don't have anyone taking the heat, things get a little bit tough, and that's not surprising. 3 for 11 from the field, 0 for 4 from 3, minus 17. Right? So this is a little bit of kind of the thing I've tried to talk about with our Jazz starters, especially the young ones with like Taylor Hendricks and Keyonte George, is like they're taking the brunt every night and they get the most criticism. Okay? Tristan da Silva gets like, they talk about him on like the Bill Simmons podcast like he's this star rookie. Well, Tristan da Silva is not dealing with the same things that guys like Collier and Keyonte George and Taylor Hendricks and even, Brice Sensabaugh dealing with, being kind of the focal point of the offense. All of a sudden, not the same thing, right? Right? So if you can't handle the heat when you get in the kitchen, maybe you weren't that good a cook after all. Go back to Wendy's, okay? All right, so this Utah Jazz team tried to lose this game, and I commend the Utah Jazz for that, but it feels like the Jazz are like 95% committed to the tank. There's like 5% of them that's, I don't know if it's fear or worry or just something that's keeping them from going all in. But on this Sunday, I would just like to say you cannot have one foot in Babylon and the other in Zion and expect the number 1 pick in the NBA draft. Are you committed to the tank or are you not? Because Colin Sexton plays another 26 minutes tonight, and I guess it was fine because he takes 18 shots, which, by the way, could have gone around here, right? 19 shots for Brice Sensabaugh, thank goodness. And it wasn't that good of a game, but how many times do we have to watch this before they make a move, right? John Collins doesn't play, if Colin Sexton doesn't play the game, even though he's not playing particularly well, he shot the three well. And he is kind of this outlet for these young players. Guys like Isaiah Collier, who starts tonight, goes 1 for 8. And there are a lot of moments where he just kind of can't get the shot he wants, or he's in his comfort zone, and it just kind of hands it off to Colin Sexton, or at times Jordan Clarkson, and just lets them do the work. And that's not development. You know, there's something to be said for what Collier's doing now, but it's like we said with Tristan da Silva. If you are not being the focal point and having to get out of your comfort zone, that's what Keontae George is having to do. Keontae George has to get out of his comfort zone every single night. He's playing a position he's never played. That's why, like, it kind of bothers me when you know, lead writers and Jazz people and fans just like unload on him. Well, guess what? He's been learning a whole new position at a high level and being just ripped all the time. Oh, he's not a good defender. Oh, he's not a point guard. Oh, he's not even freaking Danny Ainge saying he's not a point guard. What the hell? Like, you cannot do that. It's not honestly very fair. But what's going on here is that Isaiah Collier is just handing the ball off to Colin Sexton and letting him do work. And it's nice that he gets 6 assists, but I want to see him doing it on his own. Okay? Okay? That's something that's not happening right now. So Utah needs to take the training wheels off, go from 95% to 100%, and do this right. Do it right. Because guess what? Utah is not, I mean, they're going to continue to play Eastern Conference teams. And if Danny Ainge is trying to milk some sort of freaking trade that gets him like the world for Colin Sexton, well, guess what? We have some important things to look at here. I'm not saying the Jazz should just waive Colin Sexton, but what I am saying is that this is just not doing anything for Utah. And I know that I'm doing this on a night where, see, why is this not coming up? This takes forever. I'm like, did we drop? If we drop, guys, stick with me because my internet's being annoying. I still got to go look at my, let's let this pull. It looks like it's still working. But anyways, okay, here we go. And this is a D LeBron Basketball Index advanced metric. And a lot of people like this. I think it's really interesting, but it's based off of LeBron James. LeBron James is kind of for this metric, it's called LeBron because LeBron is considered like the best player, or at least when this was created, he was considered the best player in the league. And so that was where every bit of statistics is based off of how LeBron plays the game, which is incredibly well. So then with that, they have this advanced metric to kind of compare players who are in that same level as LeBron. So I want to show something for Colin Sexton. Let's see. This is live. I don't care. We're going to do 501 minutes. We're doing D LeBron, and we're doing just this season. Let's run it. Okay, so this shows you the best defenders in the league according to this. Interestingly enough, Goga Bitadze grades out as the best defender. It's crazy. And I don't know if this is a little bit of like, I mean, he starts for them. He beat out Wendell Carter. Roll cut big. Victor Wembanyama, number 2. Not that surprising. He's going to be he's going to be the best player in the NBA at some point. Isaiah Hartenstein, Draymond Green, Tari Eason, Isaiah Stewart. There's Rudy Gobert, number 7. Jared Allen, Evan Mobley. I mean, this is pretty good. These are the best defenders in the NBA. This is everyone that's played at least 500 minutes. Should we see who's at the bottom? And this is why the Jazz are where they are. Look who grades out as the worst defender in the NBA on this metric. Colin Sexton. Keontae George is at number 4. And look here, number 7, Lauri Markkanen. These are some things Utah needs to discuss and talk about because the best teams in the NBA, you look at this, the teams that are winning, you know, the Spurs are above 500. They're pulling away from the Wolves. Isaiah Hartenstein, part of the Thunder, they are winning the NBA. They just blew out the Celtics tonight. Draymond Green, the Warriors are at least above 500. Tari Eason and the Houston Rockets are the big surprise of the league in a lot of ways. They're playing incredible. And the list goes on. Isaiah Stewart for Detroit. The Detroit's about 500 now. Beef Stew, baby. Best nickname in the NBA is Beef Stew. And then Rudy Gobert, we know what he does and so on. You don't go to like a losing team with these players It takes a long time. And you know who you're not seeing until number 25 is Walker Kessler. Now, I think a little bit of this would be better if Walker Kessler was on a team that was better offensively and making more shots and he had better defenders around him. I bet he would jump up higher. Because Goga Bitadze, I don't think he's the best defensive player in the NBA, but he is on the floor with incredible defenders like Jalen Suggs, who the fact he's not on here, where is Suggs? He should, because he's incredible, although maybe not as much this year. But Isaiah, anyways, that's what I wanted to talk about. Utah does not have good defensive talent on the team outside of Walker Kessler. I think his number will rise, but I also think a little bit it would show up more if he was even better. But you can be happy as a Jazz fan to know that they have Walker Kessler grading out the advanced stats. Show out in a nice way that Walker Kessler is a good defender. Utah doesn't have a single other defender even close. Now, offensively, we could look at this, and I was looking at this during the live stream, which was kind of fun to just kind of look at the Jazz. Here's offensive LeBron. So these are the best offensive players. And then the LeBron stat across is like the larger one minus the smaller one, and that's your LeBron score. Nikola Jokic, the best offensive player in the league. Is anyone surprised? No. SGA, number 2, not a surprise. Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum, Jalen Brunson. Look at that. Donovan Mitchell, number 6. Pretty impressive. Darius Garland, number 7. By the way, Kenny Atkinson in Cleveland is probably, it should be coach of the year. There's some good coaches this year. Although, do you really want coach of the year? Because it usually means like the next year you're fired. It's crazy. But anyways, we're not seeing a Jazz player until a while. Let's see where, and probably because Lauri Markkanen's having a little bit of a down year, but we can change this. So we go to not player. Where's team? Okay. Utah. Okay. So these are players that have played at least 500 minutes for the Jazz. So, and by the way, this should be bigger. We don't have all the Jazz players on here because they don't have at least 500 minutes. Jordan Clarkson has 562 minutes. Can those numbers please go? By the way, this is the most fascinating thing to me is Jordan Clarkson is the number 2 offensive player according to D. LeBron. They have him as a shot creator archetype, which is interesting. Lauri Markkanen, off-screen shooter, that's exactly what he is, 1.95. So obviously, and I don't think anyone would be surprised, Lauri Markkanen, best offensive player on the Jazz. And then, interestingly enough, you have John Collins, Colin Sexton at number 4. It's not as good as people think, and that's why people are probably looking at this. If there's a team out there that's just like a big kind of advanced stats front office, maybe they're more interested in Jordan Clarkson than Colin Sexton, because Colin Sexton's D LeBron rating right here, it's blue, but it's definitely not as good as you would think when you look at his raw numbers. It probably, and some of this actually, this thing takes into account garbage time, which sometimes I feel like a little bit of what Colin Sexton does is like garbage time taking advantage. When teams aren't trying as hard, the game's over. Colin Sexton can't be more excited to go out and get a layup. So I don't know. But this was interesting to me. And then Keontae George is a positive offensive player. It's getting better. It's not there yet, but he is a second-year guard. His first year starting with actual starters. And then, of course, Walker Kessler actually grades out as a negative offensive player. But I think we've seen him get better. He's been getting better. So that's nice to see. But this probably also takes into account free throw shooting and things like that. And his free throw shooting has not been good this year. 51, 52%. Not going to show up well in things like this. So, in fact, it makes me want to go to this. Let's do this because we're now with Utah. Let's just run it and look at the whole Jazz team. Oh, they put it back. Let's see. Sorry, guys. We're just live, but I enjoy doing this. I don't care. My show. Do what I want. All right, so let's look at offensive LeBron. The worst offensive player is Collier at minus 2.74. That might be some of the worst in the NBA. And then Cody Williams. Did anyone have Cody Williams doing better than Isaiah Collier on this advanced stat in their bingo card? Not me. Well, it's kind of interesting. Kyle Filipowski not showing up as well, although he looks great. That's why eye test matters. But let's see. Brice Sensabaugh, this is going up. He's at a minus 0.33, and some of this is from early in the season. I kind of want to do, can you do date range? Let's see. I don't know if you can. That might be the paid, and I'm not paying. How Svi Mikhailuk is a positive, I don't know. But you know what makes me so sad is how much better Taylor Hendricks was doing than I think we thought. Too few games, low minute, point of attack. Makes me so sad. He was our only point of attack defender. Point of attack defender as a big. That's incredible. Keontae George, point of attack. I love how they call Colin Sexton on defense a chaser. Unbelievable. Anyways, Utah needs to trade Colin Sexton. I have people telling me that Colin Sexton is all that in a bag of chips, and he's fine. He's a fine player. Utah needs to trade him. And at some point, you've got to figure out, because Utah's not winning against the big boys in the NBA, right? They are winning these games against the Miami Heat, who are in absolute shambles yesterday with suspending Jimmy Butler and looking like the worst body language I've ever seen. And then today playing against the Miami Heat, who are losing 6 of their 5 best players, whatever. I mean, I would argue that Utah is also missing their 3 or 4 best players like Markkanen and Keontae and all these guys. But Utah had Kessler and Sexton playing tonight. And I tell you what, even with Sexton not putting up the best numbers, it still provides stability. It's still 20 points that could go elsewhere. And I don't know why Danny Ainge and Justin Zanuck aren't making the trade. And I get it; they're probably taking back a bad contract. But I'm telling you, Utah. I mean, it kind of is not a great sign for this tank going next year as well. It kind of feels like Utah's like 95% there, but then they're not going to take the full step, because then if it doesn't work out this year, if Utah, who now sits pretty solidly at number 5, a game and a half back of Toronto, Charlotte, Utah has to figure this out, but kind of feels like they can go into this and say, oh, look, tanking didn't work. Didn't work. And so I'm not loving that. I would love for the Utah Jazz front office to actually commit to this and do it. Do it. What is it? If the Jazz waived Colin Sexton, what's the issue? I know it's like I know they're not going to do that, and that's not like going to go over super well with the team probably. But is it something that you want to like? I guess I just don't understand why the Jazz can't make a trade for something that's not as much as they would hope to get for Colin Sexton, right? And I know there's some viewpoints out there from other teams. It's probably why it hasn't happened, is that Colin Sexton is a good stats, bad team guy, right? And it's probably what he is. When we look at the advanced stats, I mean, it's not great. Colin Sexton's just .47, and then he's the worst defender in the NBA. So his LeBron score, not good. So let's look at it. Let's just get his LeBron up here. Boom, boom, boom. Let's run it. Let's get Utah on there. By the way, Shea on the LeBron, because it includes defense, passes up Jokic. Let's see. So Utah, in terms of just overall LeBron, the best player is Oscar Tshiebwe. Because of the defense, man. Oh, no, don't do me like that. Taylor Hendricks, the best player in terms of pure LeBron. Walker Kessler. Should we build around Taylor Hendricks and Walker Kessler? Maybe. You'd have 2 good defenders, and then you would add to that, especially if you get Cooper Flagg in the draft, and then you go and you get A.J. DeBonsa, and all of a sudden, guess what? A team of A.J. DeBonsa, Cooper Flagg, Taylor Hendricks, Walker Kessler, pretty good team. Not the best sign. Lauri Markkanen at negative .07. I don't know, guys. $48 million a year. You would hope he would show up a little better. You would hope. And I tell you what, this is a pretty good sign that Utah is still finding a way to win these games, that we have a really good coach in Will Hardy. He outcoached Mosley tonight, 100%. 100%. Absolutely. Utah wins with offense now, basically. That is what they do. So let's just take a look at a little bit of the other guys that started tonight. Micah Potter played 20 minutes. He only took 3 shots. Johnny Ju Zhang continues to just shoot the ball well. 2 for 4 from 3. I don't know if he was a +8 in this one too. 12 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds. Colin Sexton, we've already talked about him. Isaiah Collier, 1 for 8, 0 for 3. This is why the offense is showing up poorly. But he is passing out 6 assists and getting 5 rebounds. I feel like the confidence in the last couple weeks has actually risen for him. And what I would love for him to have is just a clean slate, trade Clarkson, trade Sexton, open up the minutes so that he can get the minutes. Bring on Cody Williams from the G League because, my gosh, it's fine, and he's doing well in the G League, but I want to see him growing confidence on an NBA court against NBA players. Let's see. Filipowski played tonight and played well, 6 for 8 from the field. He really did well tonight. And it was against, the third string of the Magic, but he crushed it. 6 for 8 from the field, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 12 points. He just does a little of everything. I'd be curious to see, where is Filipowski on here? He's only a -0.40. He hasn't played a ton, but as far as for a rookie season, a guy that was a second-round pick, and you're going to probably creep into the offense, the positive. I mean, if Filipowski just improves a little bit, gets some minutes and gets into this range, that's a huge win. And I think you can absolutely expect that next season. But guess what? He's not going to get there if you don't get him on the floor to figure things out, right? He's got to figure things out. Patty Mills got 19 minutes tonight. I don't know. I'd probably rather see Cody Williams. And then the one we have to talk about, well, Svi Mikhailiuk also, I didn't realize, and I forgot, but he got a ring with the Boston Celtics. So we have champion Svi Mikhailiuk on the Utah Jazz, NBA champion. All right, can we just talk about Brice Sensabaugh? In the last 2 games, he is absolutely killing it, almost 60 points in the last 2 games. He is shooting lights out. For the season, he is shooting, let's see here. He is shooting 48% from the field, 42% from 3, 92% from the free throw line. He is almost a 50-40-90 guy in his, second season with the Jazz? How incredible is that? And I tell you what, right there, how many people would be opposed to Colin Sexton getting moved so Brice Sensabaugh gets more minutes? Sensabaugh getting minutes against starters, allow him to mess up, allow him to play in games where it's higher stakes, because you eventually want him to be a guy, right? Do Danny and Justin believe in Brice Sensabaugh or not? We know what Colin Sexton is, and we know what he's not. We don't know everything about what Brice Sensabaugh is, but one thing we do know is he can shoot the ball. We're seeing him score in the mid-range. We're seeing him pass the ball a little bit. These averages just keep going up. And you know what else he is? He's 6'5", and he's 21. If he can get in a little bit better shape, just get into elite shape, why can't he be at least a solid defender? Why not? Now, maybe he's not going to get there. Let's go back to LeBron. Is this just... No. Let's do LeBron. Actually, I think you can do them all. LeBron and wins added. Let's run it, and let's just look at the Jazz because we can have it all in one spot. I just want to look at Sensabaugh. Because why not? So Walker Kessler comes out as LeBron. He comes out as number 1. Drew Eubanks, number 2. Drew Eubanks, actually a solid defender. Look at that, 1.08. Where is Brice Sensabaugh? And I know he's not showing up good right now because he had a rough start to the season. But his LeBron is almost positive. And he's a better defender than Clarkson, Markkanen, Keontae, and Colin Sexton. And if he gets into this range, then we're good. If he's a positive defender, we're in great shape. He is a second-year player just barely starting to figure things out. Offensively, he's getting there. This is already overcoming a terrible start to the season, and I don't know if it even has tonight, but you might see this go positive here soon. And even this, if we can get this positive. You should have a team of players that are positive. For example, let's go look at the Oklahoma City Thunder who are doing this right. Art Vandelay, welcome back, my man. Welcome to Rookie. Let's look at OKC. Look at this. A lot of blue. A lot of blue. Look at Isaiah Hartenstein. What a pickup that was. Cason Wallace, who I loved in the draft. I loved Cason Wallace in the draft. Look at this. Yeah, he's not shooting the ball well, but is he defending? My goodness. Yes, he is. Jalen Williams, Caruso, SGA. Look at this. What an absolutely dominant starting unit. You go back and then you go look at Utah. Utah just needs talent, guys. They're not close. Okay? We're just not as close. We've got some positive things here, but we've also got some serious flaws. And our starters are not, like Drew Eubanks and Taylor Hendricks and Oscar Tshiebwe are showing up here, right? These are the guys getting a ton of minutes. Jordan Clarkson is getting a ton of minutes. A ton of minutes. A ton of shots. Jordan Clarkson. Brice Sensabaugh, I'm happy to, but Markkanen, who, as a D LeBron, like this is our defensive, these are our guys. And this defense, these are just not good defensive players. Colin Sexton, literally the worst in the NBA, is getting so many shots and so many minutes. But it's this offense that's going well for him that's hurting us. Because when Utah plays good teams, they lose. No question. No question. When Utah plays average teams, they lose because of this. But when they're playing the bad teams, they're winning because of this right here, right? Utah has to cut that out. This one and this one. Cut it out. Pull that out. Like the priest in Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom, pull the heart out. Do it. Just do it. If they just waived Jordan Clarkson, I don't know if anyone would be too sad about that. Allowing, because he only has one more year at $14 million. Utah would not have to bring on, I mean, they're saying they'd trade him for a second. Are you serious? Just waive him. Just waive him. Let the team know that you want to go fully young and waive him. Let him go sign with a contender. I'm sure Jordan Clarkson would be fine with that. Get paid by the Jazz not to play and then get paid by another team? Come on. And I'm almost to that point with Sexton. If they can't get a deal at this point, because they were trying to trade him last year, and then the same thing this year too, what's going on? And you know what? I think Taylor Hendricks is a big example of what Utah's trying to do. If they get Cooper Flagg, you can see this is just a great visual for that. You start turning reds to blues, you'll start winning games. And then Utah knows that they've got some offensive talent here. And they've got to be careful because, you know, Keontae George, I think he can improve. He's a second-year player just like Sensabaugh. They're both in the red here defensively. They've got to figure out how to defend because if Utah wants to win a championship, you've got to get to the point where you're in this positive area or at least close, right? He's going to be a great piece to trade for Giannis. Maybe. But I would much rather draft Cooper Flagg and AJ DeBonsa and build a team that way and have long-term healthy growth. But Utah's just doing a good job of kind of throwing away a season here, guys, because now they sit at 5th. There is absolutely 3 or 4 wins that shouldn't have happened that, you know, Utah could be absolutely in this range. They are one game, they are right there, and they keep doing this. If these last 2 games didn't happen, Utah'd be at 2. Utah would be, well, they'd be at 3. But they would be tied in the wins column here. Utah, oh, they actually absolutely would be tied for 3rd. And that's where we want to be. You can't, like we say, this is great for culture. Yeah, absolutely. You know what? That's the funniest thing about the win yesterday with the Heat is the irony of them having the Heat culture court yesterday. And no one is bigger on culture than the Miami Heat. And look what's going on. You know what helps culture? Having good players. You know what helps culture? Winning. Winning, this helps culture. Right? Look at all that blue. So much blue. How many of their main, like Jalen Williams is like coming off the bench. He's not a very good defender, but they have him playing center, anchor big. No, that's not what he does. He's kind of a tweener. But you look at this, like all their that's interesting. Chet Holmgren right there, although he hasn't played much this year. All their starters are good defenders. And then you look at this, and they're good offensive players too. Let's go look at Boston, BOS. Look at all that blue. All that blue. It's crazy. Jason Tatum, that's MVP stuff right there. Derek White, look at that. And he's one of their role players. Kristaps Porzingis. I mean, you just look at this across the board. It's interesting Drew only grades out at light blue here. Maybe he's slowing down a little bit, but pretty remarkable. Not a lot of red. Not a lot of red. You go to Utah, a lot of red. It's honestly not that complicated. Utah just has a talent deficit, and they've got to build the talent, and they've got a lot of picks to build that talent. But right now, this red is helpful. Utah needs to give these young players a chance to prove themselves, and if they don't, then you just get better picks, and you just get these big-time players in the draft, and then you fill out the roster. Then you go out and trade for the Isaiah Hartensteins. You don't trade for Giannis unless you have a core for him to play with, right? If Utah traded for Giannis right now, I mean, they might be maybe playing quality, but I don't know what they have to give to get Giannis here. They're going to ask for Lauri Markkanen. So I don't know. Yeah, Patty Mills with a plus 17 and 0 points. I would prefer giving literally 32 minutes to Isaiah Collier because I want to see if he can figure it out. I know he's just a rookie, but let him figure it out. Do the things you know you can do. Run some pick and rolls with Kessler. Let Kessler figure it out as well because Kessler's got some work to do offensively here, right? Kessler needs minutes and Kessler needs opportunities to grow too. And when you're between his legs 100 times and then taking a bad shot in the mid-range, that's not helping anybody. And what's so funny is that Sexton does, Clarkson does, and Sexton do grade out really nicely offensively. So it helps against beating the bad teams. So it's good enough to not be here, but the Jazz aren't good enough to be here because they're losing to all these teams. They just can't lose. It's just frustrating. But I am happy about Brice Sensabaugh, and that was really fun. And Utah is in an interesting spot right now. I think I got to do, and let me know in the comments, but I got to do an article. I want to do a daily kind of yes or no question and refresh it every day. Have the Jazz committed to the tank 100% yet? Or something like that. Have the Jazz made a trade this season yet? No. And it's I've heard some things about the front office and some philosophies they have that I don't agree with at all. And some of the things, you got to give them credit. They've done some great things. They did not fill the team with any players that, at least new players that would take minutes from the young guys. But they certainly didn't do the moves to move other players like Clarkson and Sexton to clear minutes for Collier and even Keontae George, who's getting a lot of minutes, and guys like Taylor Hendricks to get those minutes because they never traded John Collins. Even if Taylor Hendricks didn't get injured this year, and we were probably going to see him end up going off the bench based off of what we've seen now. They just got to make a trade, and this is why I'm kind of just thinking are they even committed this year? I know they are to some extent, 95% there, but it feels like they want to have their cake and eat it too. And I am extremely, extremely nervous, because they signed Lauri Markkanen to a long-term deal, and when you look at these metrics, man, $48 million. And he is grading out extremely poorly defensively. Extremely bad. Offensively, really nice. Extremely nice offensively. No question. But defensively, it is just not it. And, I don't know. There's some serious questions to be asked. Because you're not winning a championship with someone at this level of bad getting the minutes that Markkanen does and him being your best player. I mean, that's what makes me a little nervous when the Jazz say they're building around Lauri Markkanen. Why? Like, honestly, why? When you go to the full on just everyone, like this is just, I just want to look at the overall. I want to see. So let's go to LeBron. Boom. This is, the worst player in the NBA. Bub Carrington on Washington. Oh no, taking strays. It makes me want to search for Markkanen here. Well, I want to see his place, but you just see minus 0.7. So as him as a player in the NBA, minus 0.07, you have to go to number, where are we? I mean, it's taking a while before, look, there's Walker Kessler. Walker Kessler's arguably a more core piece than Markkanen if you are using this metric. I mean, it's not good, guys. Let's keep going. Where's Markkanen? Wow. Did we pass him? Oh, man. Well, this is a waste of time. But anyways, there's some hard questions that need to be asked. Because if you want to get to the level of the good teams in the NBA, you need to have players that are good on both ends of the floor, not just one. And Utah ran into trouble with the Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert team because they had elite players like Donovan Mitchell, elite player on one end of the floor, terrible on the other. And Rudy Gobert, elite player on one side of the floor. And I'm telling you right now, Rudy grades out really bad on there offensively. And that's kind of how Utah was. They were like all in on the offense. The offense was everything. And then they had Rudy Gobert on the defensive end being Defensive Player of the Year. And it worked enough to be a really good regular season team. But then in the playoffs, that stuff doesn't pan out because you have teams that are able to just take advantage. So Utah has some serious questions to answer. And it really just comes down to the talent on the team. You've got to have talent that's good on both sides of the ball. Both sides of the ball. And that comes with drafting high in the draft because you get the biggest, fastest, strongest, and most skilled athletes. And that's how you win in the NBA. It just is. Like, you have the biggest, strongest, fastest, most talented guy. Great. And yeah, Bryce is great. And that's one thing that's nice to see. Bryce, I think, is showing that he can 100% be a rotation guy if he continues to improve. And I'm talking both sides of the ball. If he continues to improve, 100% can be a great guy on the Jazz team. But Utah just needs their starters to be good on both sides of the ball. And right now they're not. But they're good enough that they're not going to be at the top when lottery night comes. So we'll see. And Utah may do something like this next year. And I guess here's the thing, is Utah may win the lottery anyway. It is still just raffle tickets like we said. And maybe they do. But it certainly makes me nervous, man. It certainly makes me nervous. All right, that's it for tonight. It's another win for the Jazz. They sit at 5th. Had they not won tonight, they would be in 4th still, probably sitting here at 5th because Toronto lost tonight, I believe. So come on, Toronto. Come on, Charlotte. And New Orleans has won 2 in a row. So come on, New Orleans, figure it out and bring Zion back, right? Utah needs to pass up New Orleans. At the very least, can Utah be the worst in the Western Conference, please? I did not expect New Orleans to have this bad of a season. So, all right, let's start the music and let's do our nightly lottery draft. So this is kind of looking like where Utah is going to be. This is looking very likely. And honestly, the last 2 seasons, I would have been much happier sitting at 5. Because there were some players Utah tried to trade up for the last 2 seasons that were in this range. So maybe we'll be happy, but I want this spot. So let's hope the Jazz get lucky. All right, guys, let's go and move over to the mock. I kind of like doing this. By the way, in better news, Minnesota is sitting here. Detroit's looking like they're going to pass them up. Come on, Phoenix, baby. Come on, Philadelphia, who's starting to play better. Look at that, 7-3 in their last 10. Detroit is 7-3 in their last 10, baby. 4-6, Minnesota. Oh, yeah. Makes me happy. All right, let's see what would happen if the lottery was, oh, come on. If the lottery was today, Utah falls to 8. They get jumped by 3 teams. This would break my heart. 8 is just a disaster. The best you can do is Con Canopal. I ain't drafting him. I'm drafting Cameron Malawach at that point, or Derek Queen. Whew, that would be such a disaster. And one final note, Utah could just do what they're going to do on draft night now. How many times the last few seasons have we watched the Jazz give rumors that they're going to trade up? Guess what? The trades you do now are the trade-up trades, because you're doing the trades now that make you worse so you get higher in the draft come draft day. Stop making moves based off of if a certain player's happy, like Lauri Markkanen. Who cares? Markkanen's got 48 million reasons to be happy. Stop worrying about that crap. All right, let's give a shout-out to our All-Stars tonight. Let's give a shout-out to Ryan Edward Perry, the legend, Baby Elliott Madsen, See Ya, Alexa Later, Christian House Money to Haas, The Outlaw, Jesse James Nelson, Jordan to Go Besserell, Austin R. Grant, Editor Extraordinaire, KG10 to TH5, and Patrick Akubo, the Connoisseur. All right, guys. My favorite thing, KG10, is our Minnesota pick jumping. That would be the best of all the things. Guys, that's all I got. If you're new here, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you'd like to support, just hit join. Shout out to Art Vandelay joining the channel. Art Vandelay, very good Marvel Snap player. Shout out to Art Vandelay. All right, guys, I will talk to you next time.